Hi, this is Scott Bogren, editor-in-chief of Rail Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to our 33rd edition of Rail Magazine, a digital edition of the publication entitled The New Rail Reality: On the Right Track. This edition features a number of important articles that I wanted to point to and give you some context for kind of how we developed the edition and how we had kind of one idea for how the edition would go. And then, in fact, as we worked on it, how things kind of changed, as is so often the case. The major feature article in this edition of Rail is one where we examine the real economic reality and in the case of this article, duality for passenger rail issues. And we really started that edition, and Rich Sampson, the editor of the magazine and really one of the chief writers, he really focused to start off on looking at why does rail cost so much, and we kind of set out to examine that core question, one that we hear a lot from readers and from traveling around the country, from people who are both advocates and opponents of new rail projects. Why does it cost so much? So we tried to take an in-depth look at that and give it some historical context. And we found ourselves throughout the article also kind of answering a lot of those opponents of rail projects. And so we kind of felt like it needed a second part to it. It wasn't just why does rail cost so much, but it began to be kind of you get what you pay for. I really encourage you to take a long look at that article. I know it's a longer piece, but it's an important piece, one of the most important ones we've produced for Rail Magazine, and it's one that should be thought-provoking to all of our readers. And I encourage you to give us feedback and let us know what thoughts that article indeed provokes in you. And we'd like to share some of those in future editions. So take a look at that. Another feature piece here, we talk about the high-speed rail challenge and how those challenges in the UK mirror some of what we're going through here in the United States when it comes to high-speed rail. We've got an analysis of two ballot initiatives in California, one in Los Angeles County and one in Alameda County from the 2012 election, so about a year ago. And you're wondering, well, why are we still looking at 2012 initiatives? Well, these two initiatives were seen as failures, yet they both came up with 65 and 60, just a little bit under the two-thirds supermajority needed. So we looked at why you'd need a supermajority and what that kind of does and how that level of support insulates rail projects from future attacks. And so we look a little bit about kind of the what those rail initiatives really tell us. Lastly, Rich has another important piece in the features in this edition on how rail operations are becoming more profitable and can they lure private investment and private interest. And I think that's an important article as well, as we're talking about this new rail reality, because there are systems, and we highlight some of them in this article, that are turning the normal way of rail does business kind of on its ear. And we try to analyze what does that mean and what does that mean for the future. So those are the major features in this edition of Rail Magazine. We also have a couple of rail yard features, one on positive train control, the other on leveraging passenger rail investments and financing options. We had a reader who's an architect submit a nice piece on Tinley Park's 80th Avenue station in the Chicagoland area. One of our colleagues here at CTAA talks about how Mark has expanded access at its new Halethorpe commuter rail station. He's a commuter with a disability who uses that station. We also introduced a couple of podcasts that Rich is now doing as part of Rail Magazine. So to kind of enhance the digital aspects of the magazine, we have a couple of podcasts. One is an important one with an author that I know you'll want to read and listen to rather than read. And so again, Thank you for taking the time to open and I hope enjoy this 33rd edition of Rail Magazine. And as always, if you have any questions, suggestions, criticisms, we'd love to hear them. And you need only to email me directly at bogren, B-O-G-R-E-N, at ctaa.org, or you can email Rich directly at Sampson, S-A-M-P-S-O-N, at ctaa.org. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the edition.